Hey folks, welcome. If you were with me during our last video, we supervised the loading of our Boeing 737 cargo variant. We're on our way from Ketchikan, Alaska down to Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. So here's our view in the cargo hold. And then we have our view just inside the cabin door. The cabin door has been secured. We checked the crash axe and the fire extinguisher. Here's the galley. And right there is the cabin door. And then just inside the cabin door, we did our rainbow check where we checked our circuit breakers. We checked the oxygen level here. We pulled out the jump seat. We checked our landing gear emergency release valves. We checked our emergency escape rope. I didn't see it actually, but I bet back here there's probably a first aid kit. There's a minimum equipment list. There's some logbooks. We checked our airworthiness certificate and our registration and our radio operator's permit. All these things. We probably may have hung up a uniform there on the hook. So now it's time to take our seats and prepare this flight in earnest. All we've done upstairs is basically put on electrical power, turned on the window heat, and that's about it. Let's align the IRS's nav on systems 1 and 2. We'll spin the lower portion of this dial. It should tell us how long we have to wait in the alignment process. We'll do a leading edge slats and flaps extension test. That's fine. 9 minutes in the alignment process. We'll check the flight recorder. It is on and working. Do a mock airspeed test. That's fine. Stall warning test. That's fine. Passenger oxygen switches are normal. Don't flip that to on. Oh, actually, in the cargo variant, I'm not sure there is passenger oxygen back there. It is pressurized, but I don't know if they have oxygen masks. So on our number 3 radio here, we can turn on the speaker for the marker beacon and the public address system. The microphone is set to number 1, I believe. Let's see if I can get a better view of that. Okay, not the marker beacon and number 1 nav. That's the radios I want. And mic selector is on number 1. Push PA. We can use this radio to make public address announcements. Crew oxygen looks fine. And .24 volts DC coming from the battery. 28 on the bus. Ground power supplying 115 volts AC. That's fine. Galley power is on. Fuel pumps are off. We don't need them until we're ready to fire up the APU. Control panel, FMC, IRS, and VNAV switches are fine. We'll hold off on the yaw damper until the APU is needed. These spoiler and flight control switches are guarded. That's just the way they should be. Seatbelt sign. We are finished fueling, so the seatbelt sign can come on. And chimes are on. Just gonna pull up Navigraph here real fast. Airport information. Altitude is 92 feet. So in case we need to return to Ketchikan, we'll set the cabin landing altitude at 100 feet. And we'll hold off on our climb altitude, but we want to make sure that the cabin pressure is set to automatic. Packs are off. I'll turn the recirc fan on. Isolation valve is open. APU bleed can be single bleed for right now. We'll go dual bleed when it's time to set the engines. Air conditioning is off. And ice is off. Probe heat is off. Pitot heat is off. We are venting to the atmosphere, so we have 0 psi cabin pressure and cabin difference. So that is all fine. Don't want to turn the wipers on if it's not actually raining. That all looks pretty good. Let's go back down to our MCP. And to our CDU. Now that we're done with all the loading and we've got the air stairs pulled away and the fueling done and the loading done, let's go to the FMC, Flight Management Computer. So we are in a Boeing 737-700 cargo variant. Our engines are rated at 24,000 pounds. Those folks who fly the Airbus might notice that's different than the Airbus. Well, so be it. It is. AirAct cycle is current. Position initialization. Our reference airport is is it KT? Am I correct on that? PAKT for Ketchikan. PAKT. How about that? I actually remembered. Put that in for reference airport. We're not at a gate. We'll go to the next page. Both of these GPS, left and right, are the same. Doesn't really matter which one we take. We'll take one from the left, go back, and we'll enter it in to give our IRS system an initial data, initial point for start. Notice it's slightly different than the airport reference, but it is not different than the last position. So the airplane has not been moved since it was last powered up. Routing, PAKT, and we're off to CYVR. We are Alaska Airlines flight number 43. Let's take a look at our routing. Probably very simple. Direct to Ann, direct to YYJ, and then Vancouver. Departing. There's a couple of choices of procedures here if we want to use a departure. We're planning on the set K6 departure from runway 11. And that takes us to Ann. And then arriving we're looking at runway 26 left. And I want something with the YYJ transition. So let's do this. Let's go to arrival routes. I want an arrival with a YYJ transition because that's the last fix on our routing. So here are the available arrivals into Vancouver. And YYJ is somewhere over Vancouver Island, I imagine. Let's look at this Shark. 26 left is our runway. Let's look at this Shark 1 arrival. Does it have a YYJ? I don't see it. What happens? What happens if I choose the Shark 1 and I choose the Casti transition? Oh. Pika and Yaz. I don't know if I want to fly out to either Pika or Yaz. Yaz doesn't sound too offensive. And we'll load that in. Actually, now that I'm looking at it, that looks kind of disgusting. Looks awful complicated. What about this Duxum 5? Duxum 5. From Duxum. And we'll load that in. Yes, that looks much more reasonable. So runway 26, Duxum 5, and that will be fine. Let's look at the legs page. And YYJ. And then we are on our procedure. So I'm going to take the first waypoint of the procedure and add it to the last waypoint on our routing. And activate, execute. Let's take a look at any constraints. Oh. Okay, Duxum 5. We want to be at 250 knots. We want to be above 10,000 feet at Obvin. Above 10,000 feet at Obvin. Okay, here it's saying 10,000 feet below, so that's not what we want. We want Obvin. Oh no, it's correct. Below 10,000 feet at Obvin. Above 3,000 feet at Pemsu. And 250 at Duxum. 220 at Obven, and 210 at Pemsu. So our constraints are already entered. Let's go to the previous page here. 250 at Duxham. Okay, so our constraints are already there. That looks good. Zero fuel weight is 55,202. Reserve fuel is 2.3. Cost index. No, the cost index is here. I'm just not really sure of where it is. Many times the company will have a company cost index. I'm going to make up a cost index if I can't find one here very quickly. Cost index, 56. There it is. I'm glad I found that. 56. We are cruising at flight level 370. Actually, we're going to make it much, much lower. How about 14,000 feet? 14,000 feet is as high as we're going to get. And that's based on air traffic control restrictions. Not going to worry about not making 250 knots at Duxham. Actually, let's do this. Oh, okay. Forecasted winds. 14,000 is our altitude. The closest forecasted winds for our altitude is 320 at 12. So we're going to use that as our top of climb wind. 320 at 12. And one limit. No derate on the takeoff. Outside air temperature is 6 degrees, so that is correct. Flaps 5. Center of gravity has been calculated for us. Trim at 5.62. Last time I was flying this, I had a major problem getting this trim wheel to turn. Somebody said it's easier if you click some handle in here. Is that a handle that comes out? .62 is what we're looking for. I'm just going to pause for a bit and we're going to set up a control for that trim wheel. So we assigned a button for the trim, and let's see if we can move it any better now. Well, really not really any better. 5.62 is what we need. Our parking brake auto have been on. Well, actually, we're chalked. I've noticed that with the PMDG. If the PMDG is chalked, having the parking brake on doesn't make a lot of difference. This trim wheel just does not want to trim. I'm going to pause this again and see if I can have a better control. We're back. Let's see if this works. It really does it. Well, hate leaving the aircraft out of trim, that's for sure. Well, I'm going to move on from the trim issue. Let's verify these speeds. And we should be all set up. See you on the next video where we will set up the MCP panel. We'll get our clearance and we will finish up getting the APU started and finish up the upstairs configuration. See you next time.